Okay.
I'll do the other.
Okay.
This is Eleanor Cippel, and she's the goddess of sales.
That is, I need, there's like a tiara or a badge.
I'm gonna go buy one right now.
I love that. That's a great title. I hope we can prove that to be true. I am a little passionate about sales. For those of you who don't know me, I think my parents would say I've been selling since birth. So I'm excited to share some things with you. I want to get a little bit of lay in the land. If I could, I see some new faces and some faces that I'm familiar with. How many folks in the room are just starting? Oh, congratulations. Of those hands, how many less than a year? Wow. How many not even operating yet? Okay.
I'm kind of different category. I've been out there for a year building editorial credibility, but I'm just now really starting to work a business plan. So business-wise, I'm like at the bottom. Editorially, I'm a year in. So.
Super duper. That's awesome. How many folks more than a year in the room? More than 2? More than 3? 4? 5? 6? Life?
Who's been doing this too long?
Now, how about profitability? You don't have to raise your hands, but you can just look at me and I'll see it in your eyes. How many of you feel good about where you are with your sales channels and your profitability so far? Yeah, I told you I would see it in your eyes. Okay, good. Well, I hope today that this will give you some foundational tools to help with that. There's a lot of meat to cover in not a long period of time. So I'm going to cover everything that I can. I was asked to make this a little foundational, but there are some areas, if you're interested in digging in, I think that there are office hours available tomorrow. And so if you need some help with your revenue strategy, or there's some areas that I touch on briefly that you'd like to know a little bit more about, I'm happy to share those outside of this 45-minute ticker, okay? So, all right. So we're going to talk about sales and being intentional with your sales plan. And of course, one of the things that's really important is to be diverse in your revenue channels and your revenue strategy, so you don't have all of your eggs in one basket. I'm going to recommend that you go through a process to really identify your capabilities. And I think very often for entrepreneurs, when we start out, we don't realize all of the things that we know or we do or that we're capable of or that we've had experience in that are actually money-making entities. We are the first folks to minimize our talents and skills. And sometimes it takes a really broad view to say, hey, I can monetize that. That could actually be a revenue channel for me in my business. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about how to prioritize, how to do things that enable you to sort of build a foundation, how to cultivate some things along, how to identify and target clients. There are some really great things that are happening in sort of lead generation and target cultivation and client acquisition. We could probably just talk about only that for 45 minutes. And then I want to talk about working the numbers, selling intentionally, and promoting yourself. So there are probably some things on this grandiose list we're not going to get to. Let me just ask this. How many of you really need sort of like sales how-to, word tracks, approaches, those sorts of things? Okay. So I think we're going to give you a few teasers of those in this, and then we may work with the folks at Lion to try to offer you up some greater things. Okay. So the first one, as I said, be diverse about your revenue channels and think about what you are selling. What are you capable of selling? So I made this, and I'm going to encourage you to make this exhaustive list. I will share this presentation as well. I've started a list for you. So these are things that I've added to over time that may or may not be your capabilities today, but everything that's on this list, there is an opportunity or a way in this list to generate revenue from these capabilities or add it to your revenue line or your revenue channels if you are good at it. And there are a lot of things on here that you're going to say, I don't think I'm good at those, and I can't add those. And there are some things that you're going to say, how on earth am I going to make money with that? So I encourage you to make an exhaustive list of anything that you are capable of doing, and anybody who works with you, what they're capable of doing. look at some other competitors and what they're offering as well, and see if some of those things fall in line. I want you to make this list, write down things even if you don't want to do them or like to do them, just because they're a capability. Because if there's a capability that exists there for you, but you don't want to do it, somebody in your operation may love to do that and be able to help you make money with it, which would be awesome, right? Everybody with me here so far? Big list, okay. There are things on here there are things on here when I started putting this together and I actually found that people were monetizing these things. I was like, you're kidding. Like, I found a company that's actually monetizing analytic reporting for companies on like their digital ads. So they're like, they're reading their Google Analytics and they're like saying, hey, we'll help you analyze your reports and help you out. And they're like charging for that. I'm like, are you kidding? I thought that was awesome. Well, I know how to do that. We can make money doing that. That's great. The next thing that I'm going to say is select the things that are on that list. You can't do everything at once, and you certainly can't do everything, but you do need some diversity in your path. Select the things that are on the list and prioritize. And I recommend doing this quadrant exercise. So I just want to say, and I said this in the last session, this is a duplicate slide, a couple of these are. The things that are high opportunity and hard to do are the ones that are really sexy. Often those are the ones that you're like, ooh, that's so cool. And then when you start to dig into them, you're like, oh my God, this takes so much time to do. This is so difficult. We're going to have to invest all of this time and this money. So the things that you want to focus on until you get your revenue house in order and you have cash to play with and hire people are the things that are high opportunity and easy to do, and some of the things that are lower opportunity but still really easy to do. And so things that are lower opportunity but really easy to do are things that are lower dollar but could be sustaining revenue, right? So recurring or sustaining revenue, subscriptions, small retail plays that may be add-ons or that are just a monthly billable amount. So some of those things that can start to just build the base of what you're trying to develop in your revenue strategy. So with me, high opportunity, easy to do, reasonable opportunity, but easy to do. Easy to do first, because easy to do means you get more money in the door. The other thing that I'm going to say here is think about your markets and where you operate in. How many folks in here are in local news, community news segments? Yeah, so this is an incredibly great sweet spot for you, and it's cake. And it recurs every year if you can just make the effort to go out and get it. It's just cake. And once you're in the door with some of these like local and community events and happenings, festivals, all of these things. Anybody have festivals happening in their towns? Yeah.
That we do?
No, just happening.
Oh, I'm doing one.
Oh, you're doing one. Good, great. Super duper.
Hard to do.
Yes.
Low opportunity.
Yes. Yeah. It has some pipeline impact as well because it takes so much time. But it's an experience.
And we do it this year for next year.
That's right. That's right. But there are all sorts of events that happen, community happenings, festivals, all of these things that happen in your towns. They promote those. They typically are asking you if you'll do a press release for them, right? They're coming to you for free advertising for them. Yeah, so you can give them some value advertising for them, but you can also charge them money. Typically, once you're in their budget, you stay in their budget, always. So I love these. These are great recurring things. The other thing that I'm going to talk about a little bit is generating and cultivating business leads. And so this has gotten immensely easier over time, but it is also overwhelming when you say, where should I start? What do I do? Where do I go to next? And so you have your local businesses, but there's some great technology, and I've got a resource list for you that I'll share. There are some really wonderful things I shared in the last session and some things that we've done. There are some great opportunities with predictive analytics, particularly if you're in the nonprofit and funding space. There are some great opportunities in lookalike audiences, and there are just some great data sources. And I haven't tried this yet, but I know the folks at Info USA have created a small business lead and data tool called Sales Genie. I don't know what it costs, and I'm not endorsing it. I haven't tried it, but I saw it and I thought, oh my goodness, it's about time. Sales Genie. And Info USA is a company where you can buy categorical records or geographical records. You can buy them on the consumer side and on the business side. So there's some great opportunities in that. But also acquiring leads from offering product knowledge or opportunities. So, you know, can you offer local businesses in your marketplace an opportunity to get a digital checkout? And there are tools and companies who will do an audit for them. Companies like AdMall or, hang on, there's another one. What's on my resource list? But that will help you look at the effectiveness of their advertising, which is a great way to get them in the door and to set you up as the credible source. You can also have them to subscribe to hints and lists. So getting target clients is a whole lot easier than it used to, and using social media can enable you to do that really effectively. And then, of course, there are all the old-fashioned ways, right? So, you know, networking and your chamber of commerce and local businesses, and we must always ask for referrals, always, 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 always. And we must brag about the folks who come on board with us. And so I'm going to talk quickly because I really do want to talk with you about making sure that you promote the folks that you are bringing on board. So let me ask a question, because I just want to gauge how quickly we need to jump to that. How many folks in the room, when you get an advertiser who comes on board, do you do a welcome Jimmy Johns to our local advertising family? Good job. Great.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Who can offer the effectiveness of the digital advertising phase? What's the company that does that?
There is one company called AdMall, and they offer some other things. AdMall also offers co-op information. They'll tell you when co-op is coming available, and there's some great opportunities in digital co-op as well now that didn't used to be there. And the other one is called Buzzboard. Buzzboard. And there are other companies who will do digital audits. If you just Google, there are digital audits available. But they offer you some ability to set some credibility in place that you may not have had otherwise. Like we used one of them to call on a cosmetic dentist. And so when we looked at their search results, one of their highest performing search keywords was cosmetic dentistry in Houston. They were in Denver. They didn't really have an operation in Houston.
Wow.
Not really sure why they were spending the dollars for search there. But anyway, so we were certainly positioned as smarty pants, you know, because we said, you know, hey, this is great. Your search, here's the great news. Your search is working really well. Here's not the not so great news. You have an operation in Houston? So it can give you some insight and some business intelligence.
Okay.
When you were just talking about, do you send a welcome? Do you mean directly back to the advertiser as an email, or do you put it out on social media and welcome them to the world?
Put it out in social media. Yeah, absolutely. Put it out in social media. So one of the things that if you can all wrap your heads around, and so I'm going to ask another question. How many journalists in the room? Yeah, so if you can wrap your head around this, because self-promotion for folks that were journalists is really hard. So you have to toot your own horn. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to do it. And so take every opportunity that you can to promote who is working with you, because I don't want to say it's an endorsement, but it's a promotion. So if you tell an advertiser, oh my gosh, we're so excited that you're working with us and we can't wait to tell our readers and our site visitors that you are going to be part of our advertising family and that they should be on the lookout for some great things and some offerings from you all. And we're going to promote that through our social media channels. Did they think poorly of it? No, they're excited about it. And when you say, we're so welcome to have Beg's Candies on board as one of the folks in our advertiser family at Eleanor'sLocalNews.com, and be on the lookout because Meg's got some great specials coming up. And you post that, it's great, right? I mean, it's great juice. And people tell them that they saw it. I mean, it creates affinity and credibility, and it helps you leverage more business. It's a wonderful thing. You should do it all the time. As many opportunities as you get to do it. Yes?
Your previous question, you mentioned co-op, and I finally know what that is, but other people may not.
Thank you. Okay, so co-op is cooperative advertising. It is major brands who will offer an incentive to manufacturers, or major brands who will offer an incentive back to the business owner for advertising the product. And there are some great opportunities that didn't exist before. So when you say co-op and you say traditional marketing and advertising, where people think of car dealers, like Ford and GM gave great incentives to the car dealers and still give great incentives to car dealers every month. Car dealers wait for to know what their co-op's going to be that month before they advertise often. But now, new products, interesting products, are really offering some great things. Like, has anybody heard of cool sculpting?
Yeah.
So I mean, I actually could use a little cool sculpting. It's a little fat remover. It's a non-invasive fat remover product. It's elective. It's an elective procedure, and so it's cosmetic. But Cool Sculpting, the brand, is offering, or was, I don't know if they still are, but it was offering incentives to the physicians or the practices that were doing Cool Sculpting procedures, dollars to invest in advertising. And then years ago, back in the old days, they would really only do it in print, but now they will also apply it to digital. So there was a period in time in cooperative advertising was difficult to obtain if you were a digital-only brand, but times they are changing.
And I think that when you look at, I've been trying to sell this customer for 8 years and just found out when I met with her last week, True Value Hardware. They give her thousands a month, and I never knew that when I mentioned co-op, she was like, oh yeah, I guess I could do your holiday guide.
Oh,
because, yeah. And then DeWalt Tools and Weber Grills and Moody's Tires. Michelin gives them money, and so they advertise for this annual contract. Because but you also have to, there's rules you got to follow, and you really got to help your customer with that. You got to give them what they need, screenshots and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's another company that solely operates in the co-op space, and they do the processing for you. So to your point, the processing, there are strict compliance rules that they have to follow in order to qualify for the dollars. But here's a crazy thing. Like we did a client, and it was a Sherwin-Williams paint store, and they qualified for 100%. So Sherwin-Williams would pay 100% because their volume was that large, but they weren't using it. And many business owners don't use it because it's a little kludgy and difficult to do. So if you got a company who will help you process it and make sure that they will get the incentives, it's really good. Yes?
So going through a marketer, is that what you're saying, or going through the actual franchise owner?
Yeah, just go through. So if you walk into the door of a True Value Hardware, or another great example is, let's say, a boat dealer. Honda offers co-op, Mercury offers co-op, Donzi offers co-op. Any of those major manufacturer brands typically offer some cooperative incentive and dollars back to the business owner. And they are awarded, in many cases, there are some nuances of course, but they are awarded based on their sales volume. So the more they sell the product, or the more volume they accrue or earn co-op to be able to advertise. So, yeah.
So how would a publication get in on that? Would that be a situation where if I do an ad campaign for a car dealership, then how would I get in on the co-op?
Let's not use a car dealership because that car dealer's got that button.
That was your example.
So let's use a boat dealer.
Okay.
Right? So let's say that you have coming in the spring and you've got a boat dealer and they have Honda and Mercury engines, or John Deere and Husqvarna, and Husqvarna, are they the chainsaws?
Yeah.
And DeWalt Tools, all of these brands offer those. So you can say to your customer, your client, if you're approaching them about advertising, do you know and hey, by the way, I see that you carry Mercury engines. Have you used all of your co-op, or do you know what your accruals are? And they may say, no, I don't, or I haven't. And we may be able to actually have your accruals cover the cost of your advertising, or a good amount of it. And then you actually have to go do the groundwork to check into those accruals. Yeah. So I'll share with you a couple of companies that are out there that you may want to explore if you want to go down the co-op path. I think there's some really good opportunity out there, and if you can get really good at it, if you can understand it well, and do some of the training. It can be a really good cash cow. Yeah, we could do a whole section on co-op, couldn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I used Admiral before.
The company that does the processing for co-op is, I have the contact, Tim Brennan, but the company is escaping me. But anyway, I'll share Tim's number, he'll love that. Okay, so we talked about tactics to acquire. I know we went down a rabbit hole. And we talked tactics to acquire clients and customers and approaches to take them. And the thing that I think I really want to emphasize here is that lead development and client development for you is anybody that you can find. So for folks who were in the last session, I talked about building a massive database and using your CRM, because everybody that you talk to is a potential client or a potential reader or a potential advocate or somebody who can offer a recommendation, and so every contact is gold. For those of you who are just starting up, really take this away and use it. Every contact, every business card, every person, everybody that you come into contact with, and anybody who interacts with your brand or that you interact with, get their contact information and start building a database. I don't think we have time in this session, but there are some strategies to really nurture and cultivate them. If you have a great CRM, there are some built-in tools in many CRMs that enable you to put them on programs so you can nurture and cultivate them to make sure that they're growing with you. But as you develop those lists, when you think about advertising clients, and I'm going to direct this towards local community markets because I think the majority of folks in here, based on raised hands, are from local community markets. It's really important as you're putting this together to strike one hot. So we are in the end of October now. The folks in your marketplace have their holiday plans in place. So if you're starting to talk with them about like Thanksgiving now, you're really late. And you may get some Christmas bucks, but you better hurry up. Really, you better hurry up because they are running about a quarter behind. So in local community markets, this is the period of time when you should start thinking about what's going to actually break. The work that you do today is the work that you benefit from 90 days from now. So the work that you go out in the field and cultivate today is the work that you benefit from 90 days from now. So right now, the folks who are in your communities are thinking about their first quarter of 2018. So the businesses that really pop in the first quarter of 2018 are weight loss and fitness and all of those companies. So if you want to get some of those dollars, you need to be calling on them now, right? So you have to think ahead. Yes?
What about something quick, like a sponsored post for a week or two, or have they determined their budget and they've already decided what they're going to spend? Is it too late even for that?
You know, I think it's always worth a try, and particularly with smaller businesses and local businesses, it's always worth a try. You can actually, you know, the smaller the business, the smaller the enterprise, the more last minute they are, but larger dollars and larger campaigns, they're planning ahead. So, you know, if you wanted to, for example, if you have a local fitness chain in your marketplace, or a local weight loss center in your marketplace, or some of those brands, you need to get into them today because they are really thinking about how to hit their first quarter hard. It's strategically their most important quarter. So if you think about when businesses are actually active, then you need to back up your sales cycle beyond that. So, you know, as an example, for me, one of my profit centers is recruiting. And so we knew that the fourth quarter is a really good recruiting window for us. That's the period of time that I need to go out and get folks to come on board with our business. So we had a strategy that was in place when we hit this quarter. We did pre-work for the last quarter and the quarter before because we couldn't just say, okay, now we need to recruit. We had to be ready, right? So think about planning in advance so you can strike when those prospects are hot. And then when you're thinking about prospects that are in your marketplace, the folks who you have best luck with are folks who are already active. Has anybody ever heard the phrase, go after active advertisers? If you see folks who are currently active in a marketplace, go and get those. You have a better chance of getting those than you have I think every market has the story of the antique store and the nice lady in the antique store, right? So every person who's sold advertising ever has probably called on the nice lady in the antique store who has never advertised, so not ever, but she's really sweet. And so you can call on her 60 times and she'll talk with you because no one else is in her store. So she'll be happy to visit with you, but you're probably not going to get any business out of her. So you have to go where people are active and you have a higher opportunity. And there are some tactics around that you can use to competitively get them. So here's a word track for folks who are currently advertising, because you never want to talk poorly about a competitor. We all know that, right? We never, ever want to talk poorly about a competitor. So a line that I used in local markets was, I know, Meg's Candies, that you have been running a really great campaign. I see the advertising, it's really good. And I'm not saying that you should stop doing that. I think you've made some wise decisions. However, what I am saying is you're missing a really key audience here that can help you generate results. And so if you just reallocated maybe 20% of that budget, you kept doing what you're doing there, but just maybe a little bit smaller, a little bit less frequently, and reallocated part of that budget here with me in this great audience that you're not reaching, I think you can have the best of both worlds. So it makes great sense, and you're not telling them they made a bad decision, right? So you can help them get converted. Okay, so when you're looking at hot prospects are folks that need to advertise now. You have a really hot prospect. If they call you, that's awesome, right? Folks that need to advertise now, folks who can make a decision in the next 30 days. And if they're not able to make a decision for 90 days, they're a little bit cooler. Now, I want to clarify that because I said you have to go into it, you have to work in advance. So folks who are planning for, let's say, the first quarter of 2018 are able to make a decision today. They're just planning their budgets for them. So I want to clarify. Okay, so the other thing, if you're looking at competitor and competitor products and active advertisers or businesses that are in a marketplace, you want to look at who's spending the lion's share of dollars. And then know that there are some accounts for a local community website that are just going to be tough for you to get. You're going to have to work at it. And you can't be mad if you just go in and say, hey, I made a sales call, and then they don't give you any business, right? It's a process. I have a little chart, I think it's in here too, about how many sales calls it actually makes to get a conversion. But the number of people who actually say yes in your first interaction are pretty limited. You've got to work at it. So if you just say, well, I don't know why I'm not getting Walgreens, or I don't know why I'm not getting the hospital. I hear the hospital a lot. I want the hospital. You're probably going to have to call on the hospital a little bit and prove to the hospital that you're meaningful, and then get nestled into that hospital's agency and their budget before you can get some money from the hospital. Yes?
That's what I'm going to say, the ad agencies control those larger accounts.
Yes. So let me give you a couple of sentences on the ad agency. When you talk to an ad agency, that ad agency is your customer. So when you think about them, you're calling on an ad agency, and your role in working with that ad agency is to help them look good to their client. So agencies can get a little sideways when you start saying your client should be with me. So you have the hospital, and the hospital should be with me, when the approach really should be, here's what I have to offer that can help you shine for your clients, and I'd love to be your partner. And so you have to approach that ad agency based on what's important to them, and important to them and the customers that they're serving. Does that make sense? Yes?
So would you find a prospect, find out who their ad agency is, and then approach that agency? Or is it cool to blanket all the agencies in your area with, hi, here I am?
So for those of you who have agencies large and small in your area, I would practice on the smaller ones first. I would call them and offer them to come in and sit down with their group and bring in coffee or juice or a brown bag lunch or a lunch and learn, and help them understand how you can help their clients have success, how you can help them have success with their clients through your products. I would treat them like a sales call. Yeah, and go to them. Again, practice on the smaller ones first, the small 1 or 2 or 3 people shops, and then advance to some of the larger ones who may be a little bit more discerning, and may want to really see if you're on your game. Yeah.
So with ad agencies, are they more likely to buy based on cost per thousand and on kind of the mission of nonprofit journalism? How do you make that sell to an ad agency relative to a kind of local
You know, so that's a great question. Did you hear that? So ad agencies, large ad agencies for large accounts are a little tough. And if you think about this, they typically have young buyers, recently out of college, who are assigned, you've got these dollars, and we want to reach this number of people and do it as efficiently as possible. So they are buying impressions and they're buying a little rate. So they are a harder thing to crack. Where you can crack them and make headway is if you've got niches, so really specific local areas, geographies, communities that they want to touch. So for example, we have a friend who is Indian and she really caters to an Indian audience. So she is able to get into larger agencies who really want to attract or to reach that audience. So they'll go out of their normal CPM range because they can get the target. So if you meet with the agencies and you understand what they're looking for, you have a better opportunity to see if you can't craft your audience. And no, they're not buying your brand or your mission. Well, it's important. They're not buying your brand or your mission. They are buying the folks that you can help them reach. So understanding your audience and understanding the value of your audience, the makeup of your audience, how your audience interacts, how they respond, what kind of habits they have, will help you a great deal with agencies. Yes.
And as far as when they want to buy CPM and you don't sell that way, because we sell on a flat monthly rate, I break down, I have 4 advertisers in this spot gets 120,000 page views, and I'm pricing it so that it's $10 CPM.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can break it down to how they think, it's like, so it's $800 a month, you're gonna get this many page views, which equals my competition, which sell at $12 CPM or $8 CPM or $20 CPM. So you just talk their language, but you just have to take the time to break it down monetarily.
Mm-hmm. Do you all know what CPM is? Cost per thousand? Yeah, so that's a great point. Thank you, Kelly.
But just a quick question, because a lot of the CPM-based buy in the past couple of years has moved to programmatic. So those 20-year-old, out of school that handle $500 million budgets, right? They no longer go directly to publishers. All those budgets are basically dealt programmatically through exchanges.
Yeah.
And we work with a lot of small local news organizations, not independent, but television stations, newspapers. And because of this programmatic trend, their CPM revenue nosedive, basically, right? So what Kelly's saying here, selling more in the traditional way in the local marketplace, directly to advertisers, not on a CPM basis, but more of a sponsorship basis.
Right.
It's much, much more prolific from a revenue perspective. At least that's what I see.
Absolutely.
So do the big advertisers have like a little bit of budget reserved for things like mission, nonprofit sponsorships, or anything that's not CPM based?
Can you repeat all that?
Yes. So the question was, do some of the large advertisers have dollars sort of set aside that are not CPM based but are for more feel-good dollars? So yes. And so some of them actually, some larger companies actually have cause-related resources. And things that, the titles are escaping me. Like I saw one that is, I think, a chief community officer, and so some large companies are getting titles like that, and so they will do some local things, and you can find some budgets, and sometimes you can find some things that are specific, particularly around sponsoring things in a community or things that are meaningful in a community. Yes?
Hi, so I know with startups, especially in the local market, we're dealing with a lot of businesses who don't have a lot of money. So how do you decide how much to charge someone who is interested in advertising on your site?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Did you all hear that?
No.
Well, let me take a big drink and then I'll repeat it. She asked, in a local community market, you're dealing often with advertisers who don't have large budgets, so how do you know what to charge and how do you set rates? So let me first qualify this, is that we have to be very careful when we talk about rates because we can't be We can't be
Colluding.
we can't be colluding and price fixing. So I want to say that on camera. So in your marketplace, the best there are a couple of strategies that you can deploy, particularly when you're starting out. So when you're starting up, you don't really have an audience already. So you're looking for folks. Here we're going to jump in with you. And very often, you've got to offer that as a rate incentive. If you come on board with me, I'm going to do this for you, and I will do this. I will give you this position, or I will guarantee you this rate. There's one publisher who's immensely successful on Long Island, and when they started, you know, he told his advertisers, if you come on board with me now and you support us as we support you in the community, I will give you this rate. And as long as you stay with me, I will give you this rate. So he created some lost leaders. So that's one tactic. The other thing that I always recommend is to look at what the other rates are in the marketplace. So you don't want to be over-enthusiastic and you don't want to be under-enthusiastic. So look at your competitors, look at what people are paying in the marketplace.
How do you do that?
Yes.
Who's going to tell you that?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm your competitor, tell me the rate.
You know, if you call them and you say, I have an event and I'd like to advertise, could you send me your rates? Very often they do. If you call them and you say, I have a new business and I'd like to advertise, that somebody may send you their rates. Very often the rates are published. You know, you probably have a friend who has a business who could acquire the rates.
That's what I do.
Get a friend to call.
Yeah, get a friend to call.
I mean, my issue is I have a lot of community magazines. I'm trying to reach these really affluent customers, and I want to get some of them too. But I'm using this very different. It's all on to news every day, not monthly lifestyle. Come spend $15,000 on, you know, have to help a salon membership or something like that. I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out is pricing against competition that has a very different editorial and advertising format.
Yeah. So that question was, there are a lot of luxury-related publications that are in the marketplace who are promoting $15,000 spa experiences, and that the product offering that she is offering is local news, daily news. And so she's trying to make the connection on rate. So there are a couple of things that I would say there. The first one is, those luxury magazines probably have a luxury audience. And the advertisers who were in those magazines probably want to reach the luxury audience. And so I would identify whether or not your audience is the same luxury audience that they have, and then you can make some decisions. If they're not, it probably doesn't matter. And this is of paramount importance. Your advertisers are not buying your mission. Upon occasion, they'll care about what you're doing. But anybody who gives you money on anything for anything is expecting a return. And they are buying your audience. And they are buying the purchasing power or decisions of your audience. So if your audience is predominantly female or predominantly male, if they're younger, if they're millennial, if they're older, whatever, you've got to build a story that says, this is my audience. And by you reaching this audience, here's how this can benefit your business, right? The sentence is really about them. So if you, by advertising with me, you reach these folks and they have a high propensity to make this kind of buying decision, which could result, finish the sentence, which could result in more widget sales for you. Would you like to have more widget sales?
It's the only thing they care about.
Right.
The only thing they care about is, can you bring me customers?
Right, right. I'm going to scoot here for just a second because I just want to share this, and this is great conversation. So these are sales statistics. So when you're saying, well, if I call the agency or I call an advertisers, you know, and if you get shot down once, no, you have to keep calling because persistency and consistency is what wins in sales. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to the 12th contact. So if you keep persevering and you listen to what they're trying to accomplish, and when you're trying to sell something, you have to let your clients do the talking. You need to ask them questions and stop talking about yourself because they don't care. I mean, I know that's hard to hear. And we would really like them to care. We're so passionate about what we do. We would really like for them to be passionate about us too. But they don't, because all they care about is their widget sales and whether or not the folks that you can bring them are going to help them get more sales. Yes.
I'll just say that, I heard you say that last year and probably the year before, and it made a big impression on me, because as a journalist, someone says no and you move on. You're like, oh, they hate me, or, I'm rejected. But I kept pursuing certain businesses that I was sure would get some value out of what I did. And this year, a few of them came to me when it was time and said, we're looking at our budget, we'd like to include you. So all the persistence of the past came back to me without, I didn't even have to, I didn't remember to, but they came looking for me after all my persistence and my presentations and my exhaustive analytics and my, here's a sample ad, isn't it beautiful? And nothing. And you're like, what's wrong with me? Why am I so stupid? But, right? But
You're not. I mean, sometimes
it was because this screen, this 5th to 12th contact, and I just kept saying that in my head. I've only done it 7 times. I have probably at least 7 more to go. So, you just keep doing it and smiling. But it's so not in the nature of people like us. I don't think, we're not salesmen by nature.
Well, and it's hard. Like, follow through is probably the hardest. Follow up and follow through is probably the single most difficult thing in sales. If you can get yourself to actually, if you can just do the persistent activity, you can be a crappy salesperson and still win business. I mean, you can make a plethora of mistakes, say the wrong thing, do silly, stupid, idiotic stuff that you get in the car and go, oh my God, what did I can't even believe that came out of my mouth. But if you are just active enough, you will win the business because you will win more because the average person in sales is not.
And not to monopolize, but one more point. There was a guy who found my site this year, a new restaurant, found it by Googling like industry night, something I posted 2 years ago. He wanted to know more. He wanted to be on my site. I was like, great. I rush over. I give him the presentation. He's all excited. Yes, we're gonna advertise. And then nothing. And then I kept following up, and it was hard to keep following up because I felt like I was a Jehovah's Witness. No offense if there's any in the room, but I just kept knocking on that door and saying, hey, it's me again. I'm sorry I didn't hear back, but I just wanted to. And he was like, no, I'm really advertising. And I was like, okay, either this guy's really crazy or he's just a really busy business owner himself, and this is out of his comfort zone. And I was about to send 15th contact email when he sent me all the creative and said, okay, send me the bill for the 6-month ad, and I'll do a 6-month ad campaign. So again, it was like I was ready to give up, and I thought, I'm harassing him now. I am harassing this man. Yeah. But no, he needed it.
Yeah.
He loved it. It's a little S&M, right? No.
Yeah. I have a friend who says this in sales, and I think you can adopt this. Till they buy or die.
Yes. I love that. I'm writing that.
But it's really hard. But we have to keep. It works. I mean, it kind of works.
It's starting to sound kind of like a prayer meeting, by the way.
Hallelujah. It works. This is great. These are great experiences. So are you all able to hear what she's saying here? Just this notion of persistence and continuing on, even when you feel like, oh my God, I'm calling them again. Continue on. In the last session I talked about, we created at our company these cultivation plans, and we've used our CRM to do them, so they're automated plans. For every contact that we make, every interaction that we have with a client, you will love these, by the way, but every interaction that we have, whatever source they've come from, we've got a communication plan that goes to them. So if they register on our blog, we have 19 touch points that we do with them. To see if we can't figure out a way to convert them into more business or do more with them. And there we text, we call, we email, we have little notes in there so the rep knows like what I'm supposed to say when I call. So if you think about that, you think about those series, if you have a CRM system and you can put some of those automations in place, it will help you. Some of them are very simple in design. There are headlines that say like, did I drop the ball? Right? There's another one that we have that says something like, and I'll share that, I mean, we designed them so they're quick, short, and succinct like you wrote them. They're not big, long novels, but they're designed so that somebody would respond. Like, if we have somebody who registers on the site and we get their phone number, I have an automated text that says, catches their name, hey Kelly, is this the best number to call you at? Kelly probably will say yes. So if Kelly responds, I'm calling, right? I mean, so those follow-up elements are really, really important. If you can put some things to work for you to help your follow-up become better, do that, because it really is probably the single most area of loss in sales, because people just don't follow up. Yeah. This is great. I'm so delighted for your experiences.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
that said, you know, I'm a one-woman operation like many people might be too, so it's hard to keep putting on that sales hat when I also have to do the election guide and I also have to, you know, chase down the bad guys and all that stuff. But if nobody's paying me money to do it, then why am I doing it? So I have to find the balance. But it's only from this presentation that I got that in my mind, that I have to get over myself and not worry so much about the rejection. And if nothing else, you know, I'll show you what a doggedly determined reporter I am and business person. I'm not giving up, you know.
That's right.
So that's
right.
That's how
great.
it worked for me, and I appreciate that.
Are we done?
No, I have a question. I was just gonna say, back to being a journalist, ask questions. You know, continue to ask questions of them, and then you'll have more information about what's gonna make them convert.
Right.
So, you know, you're not stupid. You know, it's just the nature of the process. People come for me, try to sell me some stuff, and I'm not ready. I like them. I'm not ready. Soon, yes, thank you. You know, and then it'll look like it fell into their lap when they finally get it, and yet it was all that work ahead of time. But the way you keep also from sounding like you're a spammer is, again, react to their, you know, their answers to those questions, and dig a little deeper like that. And the other one is continue to change your messaging. Like you said, did I drop the ball on this? Wait, how come you're not an advertiser yet? So just keep changing the messaging. If you're saying the same thing over again, then it feels like hammering. But
the last thing I'll say, and I know you're on time, but the thing I learned about this restaurant owner was, because we're having a session on the opioid crisis, a lot of business owners that run these types of service industries are really struggling to keep employees right now, because many of their employees are struggling with addiction and are in and out of work, and so they can't keep enough people on staff. So business owners are sometimes serving food and cooking the food because people aren't showing up for their shifts. And understanding, you know, I live in Manchester, New Hampshire, the heart of the crisis right now in America, according to every source. So understanding that was the beginning of understanding what he's up against as a business owner, and we talked about that too. So connecting on that front, but even as everybody, you know, does their job, this is something that's not reported on that much, but should be reported on, is that there's so many businesses right now, from McDonald's to high-end restaurants, where their service staff, their cook staff, they're not showing up for work, or they're in need of 6 weeks of time off for rehab. So we have to understand that if they're not responding, there's other complications. It's not just a buy and sale market. It's a very complicated time to be in any kind of business. And so that's my last. I'm going to be quiet now.
Absolutely. Well, I think we have to circle the airport because I think we're out of time. I think we could talk about this for hours, so I'm sure there's so much still to get through. But Karen made a great point about about asking questions, and as journalists, if you research your clients and treat them like you're investigating or exploring their business, so that you can ask them really meaningful questions that are specific and significant to their business, that are really relevant to their business, and let them talk so you can identify what's important to them, versus you talking about how fabulous you are. And you are all fabulous and brave because you're entrepreneurs, but we should know that with one another. And if you need somebody to listen to that or have encouragement around that, you can call me or any one of us any day, and we'll listen to how fabulous your business is. But when you go talk with advertisers, please stop talking and listen to them. So, okay. So I have a bunch of stuff in this presentation that we didn't get to. Anyway, I'm going to scoot to the end here and send you my show you my email address slide. I do think, I'm gonna circle on this, I do think there is one thing that you need to do, and I think that, and we didn't talk about promotion, but I will send you some pieces on promotion. If you email me, I'll send you this deck. But I do think you should shamelessly promote yourself, and you also need to shamelessly promote what you can do for local businesses and offer them things. So it's something as simple as a Facebook post that says, we help local businesses grow, that's boosted to businesses or categories that you're interested in, that says, hey, I will give you a complimentary 30-minute digital business consultation, because of course you will, that you're a pro at that, and a testimonial from one of your prior clients that says, this is the best investment I've made in my 14 years, hands down, right? This is a wonderful thing. It's super easy to do. You can all do it. Promote the heck out of yourselves. I will send you this deck, and remember that in sales, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction every day. So here's my email address. It's e@greatlifere.com, e@greatlifere. It's pretty easy because you own the company. You can have a really easy email address, and people have been misspelling my name my whole life. So we're done with that now. E is very easy. Email me and I'll send you this deck and some other sales tools and pieces. Thank you.